All right, let's go ahead and see how we're able to bring an application from the 6.2 world into the Liferay 7.1 world. So if you need to log into your VM, go ahead and do so. Remember, the password is Liferay. If you're already here with me, let's go ahead and proceed. I've already cleared everything out. It's kind of starting fresh. Nothing is open at the moment. So make sure you do that. Kind of free up a little bit of space for your VM so that way you're not going to be bogged down by any sort of memory issues. So let's head over to the left-hand side where we see our filing cabinet here to access the file directory. Once it comes up, we're going to be opening up Liferay Developer Studio. So this is going to be located inside of the Liferay DXP upgrade. And then from there, you'll have a Liferay folder. So Liferay DXP upgrade, Liferay Projects SDK with Dev Studio DXP. And then we're going to have the Liferay Developer Studio folder. And then finally, the last thing we need to do, Developer Studio, that little icon there, go ahead and double click it and we'll run the Developer Studio launcher. So we'll give it a few moments here. It should load up pretty quickly. You'll see a workspace default here. This is the workspace for the IDE itself, not to be confused with the Liferay workspace. So you can go ahead and use the default. This was set previously for us, so we can use this one, Home Liferay Eclipse Workspace. So we'll go ahead and click Launch, launching Developer Studio, letting it do its thing. This might take a few moments here, so if it does, no worries, it is very typical. All right, very good. So Eclipse Workspace is the default workspace, again, for the IDE. Liferay Developer Studio is where we are at. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to close out of the Welcome tab. So you'll see the Welcome and then the little X right there. Go ahead and click it. Next up, we're going to be running the Upgrade tool. Again, this is the tool that's going to help us upgrade an application from the 6.2 world into the 7.1 world. So with projects selected up towards the top, we're going to be selecting Liferay Code Upgrade Tool. What's kind of annoying is when you select it, it's going to show up over here on the right-hand side. So once it does show up, let's go ahead and drag it to a spot that's a little bit more convenient for us, like here in the middle. So you can select the tab, Liferay Code, and drag it over towards the middle. I know my mouse cursor is pretty small to see, right? So I do apologize for that. So Liferay Code Upgrade Tool gives us a little bit of an introduction, a little welcome message, letting us know that we can bring stuff from 6.2 over to Liferay 7 or Liferay 7.1, and gives us all of the different functions, all of the different things that we can do. For now, let's go ahead and click on the next button, the arrow pointing to the right. And the first thing we need to do is we need to select the plugins SDK that we're going to be upgrading from. So this is over in our exercises folder. So let's click on the browse button. And then from the browse button, right, we're back over in our home directory here in Liferay DXP upgrade. So if you see the same path as me, you can go ahead and just click on Liferay DXP upgrade. Once we're here, we're going to go into the exercises folder. And then from the exercises folder, we're in chapter 3, upgrade Liferay code. Here inside of chapter 3, we have folder number 3. And then inside of folder number 3, we're here in the first part of our exercise, 3.3.1. And this is where we're going to find our plugins SDK. Go ahead and highlight the plugins SDK like so. And then towards the top right, you're going to see OK. So highlight plugins SDK, and then we're going to click OK. You'll see that the upgrade version does transfer or switch over to 7.1. Just make sure to double check that. We'll double check the directory here just to make sure that it is indeed the Jake's Plugins SDK that's being selected. I don't want to take any chances there. We are going to be downloading the Liferay server bundle. So you're going to want to make sure that your VM is connected to the internet. You'll see an icon like this. And once you have all of those things confirmed, we can go ahead and scroll down a little bit and we're going to select import projects. Now, just as a heads up, this is going to be downloading the community edition of Liferay, and that's okay. We don't have to worry too much about that. So we're going to go ahead and give this a few moments here. This process does take a little bit of time. So we'll go ahead and let it do its thing, right? Once it finishes up on your side, as well as my side, we'll go ahead and push forward. All right. All right, so the process for the most part is almost done. You can see that the init bundle, the process that went to download the Liferay bundle and get it here in the workspace is done. It progressed us into the next step of the Liferay code upgrade. For some more visibility here, what I'm going to do is double click the Liferay code upgrade tab right here, just so that it gives us the whole page, the whole screen. Right down here at the bottom, you'll still see some progress is being taken. If you want to take the safe route, you can wait for that process to finish up, like so. And once that process is finished, we can go ahead and start running the upgrade tool. The first step of the upgrade tool is just to identify and find all of the changes that are breaking changes. So all of the big major changes. To do that, over on the right-hand side, you're going to see this icon with what looks like a little piece of paper, a pencil, and a red X. This is going to look for all of those breaking changes within the plugins SDK that we're working with. So go ahead and click on the icon. We're going to be then selecting the project that we want to upgrade. In this case, it's going to be the parts inventory portlet. We're going to check that box, and then from there, click OK. Once we click OK, it's going to start doing its thing. You can see down again at the right-hand corner, the bottom right-hand corner, that it's going through the process of looking for all of the breaking changes. Once it finds all of them, it's going to give us a list of all of those different changes. And what's nifty is it'll also give us a kind of an explanation of why those changes needed to be done, or why Liferay changed things in the first place. So if you are really curious, you can feel free to read those once those come up. But in this case, in this situation, for the most part, we're going to just kind of breeze through those things. So for now, let's go ahead and wait on the upgrade tool. So now that the tool has identified all of the problems, you're going to see that there are 58, at least on my end here. If you expand this out, it will give you all the problems that need to be addressed. Right? It gives you what has changed, why it changed, how do you fix things, are you affected, who is affected. So a lot of these changes can actually be automatically taken care of. Over here on the right-hand side, you're going to see what looks like a wand with a green plus button. This is going to fix all of the problems that, well, can be fixed automatically. So let's take the easy route first and see what remains after we autocorrect all of our problems. All right, so very good. You see a lot of those problems have been taken care of. We went from almost 60 to now 4. So that takes care of a lot. It's not going to take care of everything. So keep that in mind with your own project. The upgrade tool is just that. It's a tool that's going to help us. It's not going to do everything for us. If it would, we probably wouldn't be here right now. We would just run the tool and then life is all good. So what problems are remaining are going to be these 4. The first one is a pretty straightforward issue. We can resolve that one a little bit later. We just need to do a little bit of touching up of the Liferay plugin package.properties file back over in our plugins SDK. So not too bad. A couple of other ones here, the copy request parameters, that has been affected. If you've taken the backend developer course or even the OSGI lesson, you're going to know that some of the things between 6.2 and 7.1 have changed quite drastically between 6.2 and 7.1, mainly the introduction of OSGI. So this one here pertains to that. You can read the details there, but in our situation, this isn't going to impact us. This next one here, though, is going to be impacting us. Right, this one is in regards to the behavior of Service Builder. We know in the past, whenever we ran our Service Builder projects, for the most part, there was going to be some sort of auto update or auto upgrade of our Service Builder project whenever we made some sort of changes and rebuilt. And so this feature is for developers only in use when we're in our development mode. So this is the only time that it's going to be applicable. So if you are wanting to continue to use this property in your development world, make your life a little bit easier, you can still use it. The details here do tell us how to continue to use this, and a big warning that we're not going to be using this in production. So let's go ahead and take a look and see how we're able to resolve this. The error here, or I shouldn't say the error, but the update here is pretty straightforward, but let's walk through it together. So what I'm going to do is double click the Liferay Code Upgrade tab, so that way it brings us back to where we were. It kind of minimizes it a little bit. From here, we're going to go into our directory that has our Liferay 7.1 instance. Let's see if we can find it over here. It should be in the Jake's Plugins SDK folder here in the Project Explorer. From there, you're going to see a folder called Bundles. This is where our Liferay bundle is. It should look pretty familiar to us. And from here, we're going to be creating a new file. This file is going to be that portal developer.properties that the Liferay Code Upgrade tool is telling us to create. So I'm going to right click the bundles folder. Once right clicked, we're going to head over to new, and then we're going to create a new file. So bundles new followed by file, and that's a right click. Name of the file is going to be portal-developer.properties. So properties. Just want to make sure I spell it right. I'm not the best of spellers, so portal-developer.properties looks good to me. I'll go ahead and click finish. So we have the portal developer.properties, and then we need to specify that specific property that the code upgrade tool told us to specify. So this is going to be schema.module.build.auto.upgrade equals true, and then save the file. Again, if I'm going too fast, right, feel free to pause the video, slow it down, and you can always catch up with me. If I'm going too slow, right, we can fast forward it. So you have options here. So make sure the file is saved. You can click on the floppy disk up at the top left or Control S. That's my preference, the keyboard shortcut. But again, however you want to achieve the save process is up to you. So that is really the only change we're going to be making. The other changes with our Java classes, we're not going to be concerned about that. That's not going to be a big deal for us in this situation. But if it is going to be a big deal for you in your situation, make sure you follow the how should I update my code. We're going to eventually be coming back to this Liferay plugin package.properties. So we'll keep that in the back of our minds, and let's go ahead and progress forward. So we're going to say, or we're going to let the upgrade tool know, hey, each one of these issues is resolved, so don't worry about it. So we'll click on the green checkbox here, and then we'll keep on going. The next part is going to be our descriptor files. So let's go ahead and update those descriptor files. Pretty straightforward over here on the right-hand side. Just click on upgrade. As a heads up, it's going to be really quick, so make sure not to blink. You'll see this window, it's going to do its thing and then disappear. Me personally, sometimes I've missed it. So if you have doubts, you can just click on the upgrade again. It's not going to really do much since it's already done, but it does give us that sort of peace of mind. So once you're good there, you can click on the green the checkbox here, letting the tool know that things are good, right? And then the gears progress. Now that things have been upgraded, we need to rerun Service Builder to ensure that our Service Builder project is up to date with all of the changes that we made. So we'll go ahead and click on Build Services. It's going to let us select which project we want to run Service Builder for. In this situation, right, we only got one. So let's go ahead and select that parts inventory portlet, and then we're gonna click OK. I guess in that situation, it was already selected for us. So don't gotta worry too much about that. Clicking on that green check button brings us to the next step. Next up, we're just going to rebuild the rest of our project. So over here on the right-hand side, we'll click build, so that way it's ready to go. From here, let's click OK, bringing us to completion after this process is done. All right, so the build process was successful. I'll go ahead and click back into the upgrade tool, and then we'll click next. Or you can click on the green checkbox, I should say, bringing us to completion. It's going to give us a summary of all of the things that has occurred. So for us, we're all finished with the upgrade tool. Again, the process may or may not be finished depending on the complexity of our portlet in this situation or the complexity of our project. For now, let's go ahead and close the Liferay code upgrade tool and kind of discuss next steps. So we have our project here. This is called the parts inventory portlet. If you've taken a training back in the 6.2 days on developer 1, then this might look a little bit familiar to you. If not, not a big deal. No worries there. So you're going to see a couple of errors here. Now, in this situation, the errors are going to be revolving around dependencies. Because a lot has changed from 6.2 to 7.1, things may have been moved or even removed. So we need to do a little bit of investigation work to discover or to figure those things out. So let's first take a look at what our errors are, and let's see what next steps we need to take once we figure those out. So the error is going to be found here in the parts portlet display template, handler. So go ahead and navigate there and we'll take a peek at what the error is. So it looks like the error is with our imports. You'll see this plus button here next to the error that's going to expand out the imports. And we're going to see this error right here. Before we progress on, let's go ahead and enable line numbers. So you'll see kind of a light gray area where the errors are residing. If you right click anywhere within that light gray area, you're going to get the option to show line numbers. So find the gray area, right click it, and then select show line numbers. So here on my line number 13, we have an error right here with the portlet display template. When I hover my mouse cursor over it, you're gonna see, it can't find the import. So there's a couple of reasons why that might be. Maybe the class moved to a different package that's in the class path. If so, then we just need to re-import, right? Just Control-Shift-O and then you're good to go. But maybe it's a little bit more complicated than that. Maybe the class itself has moved to a completely different OSGI module. If that's the case, we're gonna have to find it and bring it into our class path, our dependencies. So that's the second possibility. The third, and hopefully this is not the case, but it's very possible. The third possibility as to why we have an error is that the class is just gone. So maybe Liferay renamed it, or maybe Liferay just deleted it outright. Hopefully we did not delete it, but that is a very real possibility. So we have three options, three choices here. It's either in a different package in the class path, it's in a completely different module, so we have to bring in that dependency into the project, or it's gone or renamed. So the first two are gonna be the most likely, right? But there's always that number 3 that we need to consider. So what do we need to do in order to discover where this is? I'm gonna go through a couple of different things that you can try out. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy the portlet display template constants. We're not gonna outright go through the whole process. It's gonna take a little bit of time, but I'm gonna give you the necessary tools in order to get up to speed. So we're gonna copy the class, and we're more or less going to use our best friend, Google. You can use Google's cousin, Bing, or Yahoo, but again, I like many other people, use Google. So anyways, so we're just gonna Google for this. We're gonna see, does it exist, right? And again, I'll add 7.1 Liferay. Try to condense this down a little bit. All right, so we can see a little bit here. There's a couple of issues here and there. So there's some good signs here. It doesn't seem like it's gone, right? Classes moved from portal service 7.0. That's a good place to start. Just hitting some of these different links here. You can see there are some tickets here that address or have that class. So you can do a little bit of investigation with those different links. If nothing obvious comes up in your Google search, we have another place to look. That's going to be the source code. So going over to GitHub, I usually Google for it, but we're going to search for Liferay, and we're going to see, can we find it within Liferay's GitHub. So kind of going through this process a little bit quick here. All right, so we're here within Liferay's GitHub. I'm just going to look for that class, see if it's somewhere here. So we do have a couple hits here. It is still being referenced, so that's a good sign. Right, so it's being referenced within a couple of different places. So this is where we have to do a little bit more investigation and see. So there is a place that it might be, right? It's being referenced or imported from, or it's being imported into the Portlet display template impl. So using a little bit of OSGI knowledge from the backend developer course, for me, my assumption would be it's probably in Portlet display template API, since there's an impl, there's an API that follows it. So impl is implementing the API. That's a different story for a different topic though, just kind of digging into our tool bag here. Cool. So we can rule out possibility number 3, and it's most likely going to be our second choice. The class just moved somewhere else. In this case, it's probably in another module. And so doing a little bit of digging, we will eventually find that this is where it is. Modules, apps, Portlet display template, and then it'll be inside of Portlet display template API. If you want to do even further digging, you can actually find it within our Liferay instance. But just to kind of prove the point, I'll show you. So Portlet display template API, source main, looking for the Java. It kind of goes down, and then this is this should have been the class we're looking for, correct? Portlet display template constants. And so constants, and then Portlet display template constants right here. So again, I had to cheat a little bit using the knowledge that I have. A lot of what you're going to be doing will depend on having some OSGI knowledge. So keep that in mind. Again, this is not OSGI or backend developer, so we're not going to dig too deep into that. But just know that having OSGI knowledge is going to be very, very helpful. All right, so in any case, it's here inside of the API. So we're gonna need to bring in that Portlet display template API dependency into our project. So we're gonna have to find a jar file to help us out with that. So we're gonna go into the file directory. I like to do this with the filing cabinet here on the left-hand side. We're gonna go into our Liferay instance. That's with our plugins SDK. So Liferay DXP upgrade, we're gonna head back to that folder, going into exercise source, and then into chapter 3. From chapter 3, we're going into folder number 3, and then exercise 331. Once inside of exercise 331, Jake's plugins SDK is next, and then we're gonna go into the bundles folder. So we're looking for a specific OSGI module, that Portlet API, Portlet display template API. I believe that's what it was, right? So we're gonna have to dig a little bit to find it. So inside the OSGI folder, we're going to go into OSGI. And then this is where things, we're going to do a little bit of exploring. A lot of the modules or OSGI modules are going to be marketplace modules. So we're going to have to dig a little bit and try to find something that looks like what we're looking for. That's kind of the best way to do this. Right. So we're looking for something that will stand out to us that looks like Portlet display template. Right. If you want the actual name, what you can do is once you find what you're looking for in Liferay's GitHub, it's going to be Portlet display template. So I'm going to be looking for something that looks like that within my file directory. All right, Portlet display template. And I'm sure using Control F is much easier. So here we go. Portlet template, that looks pretty close, doesn't it? Right, but let's keep on going. Let's see if we can find Portlet display template. That might be it, but I just want to make sure we got everything here. I'll use my magnifying glass. Portlet. There we go. Portlet display template. And again, the API is where we're going to be coming from. As a general rule of thumb, we typically don't have dependencies on impulse or implementations. It's just kind of poor practice. If the implementation switches up, then we're going to be kind of in some trouble. So from here, what we're going to do is we're going to extract the API LPKG. So I'm going to extract it just right here. So extract to the marketplace where we are at. I'm just going to click select there. Right. We'll exit out of the tab here, and we're going to see the API up at the very top. So inside of the API folder, I'm going to be pulling a jar file, right? The API jar file just right there. We're going to be bringing that into our dependencies within our project. So I'm going to go ahead and copy using Control C. Right. To be explicit, we can right click and select copy as well. Heading back over to our project here, and we're going to be pasting this into where our dependencies are going to be. So that should be the lib folder of our parts inventory portlet. I got to find it. My memory kind of escapes me from 6.2. It's kind of been some time for me. So dockroot, webinf, and there it is, the lib folder here. So I'll go ahead and paste that within the lib folder. I'm going to double check to make sure that is indeed in there. So there it is. All right. So the lib folder is there. And as we saw within my exploration of GitHub, the package that the Portlet display template constants resides in is also different. So it's in com Liferay Portlet display template constants. So we're going to have to change that up as well. So com Liferay Portlet display template constants. Oh, I want to make sure I didn't delete everything. That would have been bad. So I just need to tack on the constants right here. I probably spelled that wrong, didn't I? Constants. That's contents. Like I said, I'm not great at spelling, so my apologies there. Constants. And we see the error goes away. So that's very exciting for me. Probably very exciting for those who are working with this as well. Right, so a simple change there, but you can see how something so simple can take quite a lot of time. One of the big hurdles in going from 6.2 to Liferay DXP in general is that things have changed quite a lot. So get comfortable looking through GitHub, get comfortable with OSGI. It's here to stay. And as many people I've talked to have commented, once you get comfortable with OSGI, it does become much simpler, much cleaner, much more enjoyable for developers. But of course, the hard part is always getting ramped up, getting over that learning curve. So I do admit it is difficult to get there, but once you get there, rest assured things do become simpler. All right, so we've taken care of that error, very simple error there. The next thing that we need to do before we progress on is we need to fix that Liferay plugin package.properties that the upgrade tool told us that we needed to change. So I need to find that as well. Again, for me, I still have a little bit of troubles looking around. So it looks like docroot, webinf, Liferay plugin package.properties is where we're going to be. So once you find it on your end, go ahead and open it up. We're going to change the Liferay version to Liferay 7.1.0. You can change it right here in the UI, very simple. Once we do that, go ahead and save. And then there's one more thing that we're going to be doing. We're going to be excluding the jar file that we just added. You might be thinking, hey Eddie, why would we want to do that? In this situation, the dependency is already there within Liferay. So we're bringing in the dependency within our project as a compile time dependency. We just need it for our code. Once we deploy it, runtime is going to take care of it. So we don't want anything to be conflicting with what we're working with. So here, portal deploy exclude jars. I'm going to try this clicking on the plus button right here and then selecting that com Liferay portlet display template API 103.jar. Long name. So once we have that selected, go ahead and click OK and then save the file. I'm going to make sure that this is going to line up with our exercises. So I'm going to click on the source tab and just make sure that, yeah, it is right here on my line 14 and 15. You'll see on your right hand side in the source, it wanted you to type it out. Again, I want to try to save you as much typing as possible unless you really want to practice typing. So make sure the file is saved. I'm going to exit out of these different tabs here. I'm going to double click the Explorer twice. It brings me back to my main view. Now finally, the last step, the step that you're probably waiting for, we're going to start up Liferay and then we're going to deploy our application. So to start up Liferay, we'll select our Liferay server down here at the bottom left. Once we do, it's going to eliminate this plus or this play button right here that lines up with our servers tab. And then we're going to go ahead and click on that green play button. Give it a few moments here. It shouldn't take more than 2 to 3 minutes. It might be faster. It might be slower, just depending on how much memory is within our VM. But just know that it shouldn't take that much time. Give it around 5 minutes or less at most. All right, so Liferay has been started up. Might have been a little bit longer than 5 minutes. Yeah, close to 6 minutes there for me. So if it does take a little bit longer, that's okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna launch Liferay. Let's go ahead and do so. Head over to localhost 8080. So localhost 8080 in our web browser. For whatever reason, it didn't launch it for us. But that's okay. We still got the basic configuration here. All right, so we have our basic configuration here. We're going to uncheck the add sample data, and then we're going to progress from there. We don't need to deploy our license file, our activation key, since this is the community edition. So let's go ahead and click on finish configuration. We'll wait for it to load up. From here, we'll read the terms of use. Lucky for us, it's just a placeholder. Go ahead and click on I agree. I personally wouldn't read the terms of use anyways. We're going to be setting a new password. We're going to use Liferay's default password of test. So test at liferay.com. Father's middle name. If you've been with Liferay for a little bit of time, you'll know that all of our father's middle names are going to be test. So we're going to do that as well. Password reminder is not too relevant anyways. Father's middle name, test. Save the file. All right, so we have our Liferay instance here. Final test. We're going to click on the plus button over here on the right-hand side. Once we do, we're going to wait for the add logo or the add section to load up so we can add a widget, as we call them, in Liferay 7.1. Right. Oh, at one part I forgot to deploy the application. So we're going to go ahead and deploy it. So over here on the left, we'll go ahead and drag and drop the parts inventory portlet into the server. All right, we'll wait for it to deploy. Right, it looks like the deploy process is good. I'll go ahead and exit out of that real quick. And then we'll go back to our instance of Liferay, refresh the page. All right, and then from here, we're gonna click on that plus button up at the top right. It might still be deploying here. Let me see if I can. It looks like it's not here. So that's not fun. Let's take a look here at the server here, and we'll see that there is an error on our parts inventory portlet. So let's do a little bit of investigation and see what else do we need to do? What else do we need to fix? I'll right-click the server here. We'll head up to Open GoGo Shell. This is the easy way to open up the GoGo Shell. Here on the right-hand side, it gives us the GoGo Shell. So I'll go ahead and type LB. LB stands for list bundle, and then you'll see down towards the bottom, we have a bundle that's installed. Right, moving the tab over to the left just so that we can see this a little better. You'll see, yeah, the bundle is installed. A little bit of OSGI knowledge. What this means is that while the OSGI bundle is there, it was not able to start up successfully. It didn't go through its full life cycle. So something is not going right. Right, and so if you want to try to be, if you want to try to start it up, you can. You can do start followed by the number 943. And you're going to see that it's not going to start up. So looking through, you'll see that there's quite a number of errors here. Let's take a look at some of them. It's trying to import some packages. So that's one place we can do a little bit of investigation. So a lot of packages it's not able to grab. The one that really sticks out to me is this last one down here at the bottom, right? It's trying to bring in some tag libraries for our JSPs, but it's not quite working. So this could be an easy place to look. We can do a little bit of digging and find out, hey, is this still the URI or the URL to get our tag libraries into the JSPs? So what we're gonna find is, yeah, we need to switch things up a little bit. So it looks like this is probably going to be the new one, but let's dig around and see. I don't think it actually is, to be honest. That's probably what it's trying to look for, but let's go ahead and do a little digging. So looking through the doc routes, so doc route, trying to find our JSPs. I think it's in here in HTML, and then we're going to go to the init.jsp. Right, this is where we specify all of our dependencies for the JSP world. So it's looking for core RT, but it can't find it. So if you do a little bit of digging, you're going to find that it's a different URI. And so kind of jumping ahead, we're going to change it. So it's going to be javasun.com/JSP/JSTL/core. So just core as is. So I'll remove that there and then save. Since we dragged and dropped, the deploy is going to auto deploy for us. So we're going to wait a little bit here, wait for that to finish up for us. So we'll see that the parts inventory portlet did start. So that's a good sign. Let me head back over to our local host 8080, and then we'll do the same thing, refresh the page. And once we refresh the page, we're going to try to add our portlet, see if it's there. So clicking on the plus button here on the right-hand side, right, we have training down here. So training followed by parts. I'll drag and drop the parts here onto the page. And we're going to see that it's temporarily unavailable. So we're making some progress, but there's still some issues along the way. Right, if I check the console here, right, it's going to give us some clues and some hints. So most of them so far, I've only seen 3, is saying there's something up with the search container. The search container tag has an attribute that is invalid. It looks like it's going to be the attribute called total, not all of them. So that looks like that's where the issue lies. So we would do some comparison, take a look and see within the documentation what has changed within the search container. Can I just remove the total? Right, we'll do a little digging there, or I should say, do a little digging there on your own to solidify the idea that we're about to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove that total attribute. It's not going to be needed. So heading back to our code, I'll double click the console so that it gets us back to our main perspective. So the search container is going to be over within our view.jsps. So we have one for the manufacturer and we have one for the parts. So I'm going to start with the parts first, since that's what we're looking at. So parts, view.jsp, and then we'll scroll down looking for the search container. And once you find the search container, we're going to find that total attribute. All right, so just scrolling down a little bit, and it looks like the search container begins on line 96. This is again the parts view.jsp. Let's see if we can find that total attribute. I'm sure it's here somewhere. I personally just can't find it. Right, so where is that total attribute? Let's make this a little bit bigger. There it is. It's hiding right here on line 101. So we can go ahead and delete this whole thing. Make sure not to accidentally remove things that aren't supposed to be removed. Okay, so total attribute is gone for the view.jsp here in the parts portlet. Let's do the same thing for the manufacturer portlet. So I'll expand out the manufacturer portlet, view.jsp, and we're going to be doing the same thing. Okay, looking for that search container. There it is. Much quicker to find here. And it's going to be here on line 60 where we find the total attribute. Again, be careful not to delete that closing, the closing part of our tag. And then just make sure to save the file. Once you save the file, it is going to redeploy. Right, and then if we want to clear the console, just to make sure if we're not looking at old errors, we can. So to clear it, you have this little piece of paper. You got that X down here at the bottom right, clears it out. I'll head back over to my instance of Liferay, refresh the page, and we're gonna see, are things better now? So not quite. So it looks like we still have some work to do. Let's take a peek and see what is it that we need to do. So something is still going on within our JSPs, right? We got one big stack trace. Let's see if we can find any more. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Oh, I maximized the wrong one. I'm trying to do the console. All right, let's see. We have something going on with the Portlet display template util, and it gives us where the error is. It's on line 65. So let's take a peek there. Right. So this is, again, it should be the view.jsp, correct? Let me double check to make sure. All right, let's make this bigger. Okay, let's double check. Let's see. Scroll over to the right. Portlet display template util. Yeah, view.jsp. So face value, my thought process would be, yeah, let's go to that view.jsp for the parts portlet and kind of let's see what's going on. It's around line 63, right? Yeah, 65. This is where our issue begins, somewhere in here with this portlet display, probably with one of these calls here. Getter util is pretty straightforward, but this guy, that portlet display template util, again, because our APIs changed between Liferay 6.2 and Liferay 7.1, we're probably gonna have to change a couple of things up here, right? We might have to change our dependencies that we're bringing in into our JSPs, and the API may have changed as well. So we might need to get rid of some of these parameters or maybe call a different API. So again, that would take a little bit of investigation, a little bit of digging to see what indeed has changed. So we're gonna push on through our exercise. I know the video is already pretty long. So again, thanks for sticking with me so far. We're back over here in our init.jsp, and we're going to be adding another tag library to help us out. So the tag library is going to follow the similar syntax that we see here. Let me throw that @ sign here, bringing in the taglib URI. Right, this is going to be a quote http:// This is from Liferay, so liferay.com/tld/ddm, and that's that part. The prefix here, right, is going to be liferay-ddm, and then we can save the file. So that takes care of bringing in a specific dependency. There's also going to be another error that's going to show up if we go through the same process. Okay, so we'll come back to that one. Let's go ahead and fix some other things here. So in the parts portlet, we're going to head over to the configuration.jsp. Right here inside of the configuration.jsp, we're looking for the Liferay DDM tag. So Liferay UI DDM template selector. Right? So it's right here on line number 20. We're going to get rid of the UI part. It's going to be Liferay-DDM : template selector. So it's going to look like this: Liferay DDM : template selector. All right, we're going to look at the class name here. We're going to switch things up here. Instead of the portal util, we're going to be using the template handler. So we're going to switch things up. Instead of using the portal util call, we're going to be using what we see over on the right-hand side. Right, so this will be template handler dot get class name, like so. All right, once you have that, go ahead and save the file. This is setting the stage for what we're going to do next over in the view.jsp. So let's head to the view.jsp of our parts portlet. And what we're going to do is we're going to start off here on line 71. Okay, so what we're going to do first is we're actually going to be removing from line 71 down here to line 73. This attribute is not actually going to be needed for our tag that we modified just previously, so we can go ahead and get rid of that. Right. From there, we'll save the JSP along the way. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to modify this logic here for the cchoose. Right, so we're modifying the ADT's behavior and working from there. So we're going to be pulling from the exercises. So I'm going to click on my filing cabinet here on the left-hand side, and let's get back to those exercises. It's going to be here in the home folder. From the home folder, we're going into Liferay DXP upgrade, exercise source, and then chapter 3 upgrade Liferay code. From here, we're going to be in folder number 3, we're going to be in exercise 3.3.11. We're going to open up this text file here, and we're going to be copying the contents of it. So go ahead and highlight everything. You can take a peek at what's there. And then I'm going to minimize this just in case I need to come back. All right, we're going to remove everything in between the C choose. So from the top C choose all the way down here to the bottom. Okay, there we go. And we're going to replace it with what we copied from the snippet. Okay, it says we don't need this guy anymore. Let me get rid of that. Instructions do say remove those C chooses here. There we go. From there, I'll save the file. All right, things look good. It's going to go through the redeploy process. Last thing we're going to do is head over to the init.jsp. And just to be clean, we're going to be removing the dependency for the Portlet display template util since we removed that. So that's on line 32. Again, this is just more so to be clean. It's not essential. I did change it to taglib. Or did it? All right, so taglib there and save that. So we'll go back to that error. Make sure I was working in the right JSP. Should have been the view.jsp that we're working with. Yeah, this one. All right, save the file. I'm gonna wait for it. All right, looks like it's been redeployed. Clear the console, and then I'll refresh here. There we go. So there is that trailing anchor tag there. I probably didn't remove it, but for now, I know this video has gone quite long. So go ahead and test this out here. I'll play with that parts portlet. You're gonna have in the menu under the content section, you're gonna have the manufacturer portlet as well. So start there, play around a little bit, create a manufacturer first, followed by a part from the manufacturer. So again, I want to thank you guys for sticking with me to the end of this long video, right? So with that, I will see you in the next video.